Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is April 1st today, my least favorite day of the year. I hate April Fool's Day. With that, another month has gone, and so I want to look back on March and talk about all of the books that I read during that month. Before we get into the video, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. That always helps me out a lot. It helps me to be able to be seen by other booktubers. That would just really help my channel grow. And if you're interested in seeing what books I read during March 2019, just keep watching. During the month of March, I read 7 books, which is definitely an improvement from February, wherein I only read 5. Adding that to the 8 from January, I am now sitting at 20 books read so far in 2019. That puts me 5 books ahead of where I was when I read 65 books in 1 year. Of the 7 books that I read during March, 5 of them were new, which is pretty good for me. The first book that I read in March was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. I read this book on the recommendation made by Emma Books here on YouTube. This book just destroyed me. This book is about a girl named Edith who is raped by her brother's best friend. She keeps this a secret for 4 years, and this story is told in 4 parts of her freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years of high school. It tells us how this event shaped her life and shaped the mentality that she had about everything. It shows how much she changes and her friends change. The way that she interacts with other men changes. She kind of goes downhill for a girl so young. It's not until very near the end of the book, 4 years later, that she tells an ex-boyfriend what happened. Oh my gosh, this was so well written. And being a survivor of sexual assault myself, it was really hard to read. Within the first 10 pages, I was crying. There's a conversation that Edith has with her mother that is almost word for word a conversation I had with my mom on the day that I ran away from home because I couldn't handle the pain that was inside me anymore. Almost word for word. I was reading this as we were driving into, I believe, Flagstaff, Arizona. The sun went down, and so I was really just reading by the light of my phone, and I started to get really, really, really emotional to the point of like sad whimpers and tears and snot, and I had my sound canceling headphones on as well. So I took off my headphones and I turned to my mother-in-law. We were in the same car. My husband and his father were in the moving truck, right? So I was in the car with her and the 3 dogs, and I took off my headphones and I said, "I'm okay. It's just a really hard part of the book. I'll be okay." I was just falling to pieces. So we got all set up in our motel for the night. They went to go order dinner, and I sat in the room by myself and finished this book and cried and cried. I put my head down on my arms on the mattress of this really shitty motel, and I just cried. My husband came in and he's like, "Hey, it's your turn to order." And I was like, "Okay." So I went over into the other room where the rest of my in-laws were, and I just I ran to my mother-in-law and I was like, "I need a mommy hug." And she was like, "Okay." And then I just laid on their bed and cried, and Taz, one of the dogs, he was cuddling me because he could tell I was upset. With how much I cried, I absolutely adored this book. It was so well told of the changes that a young person goes through after being sexually assaulted or raped. With that, trigger warnings, rape, drugs, it can be really triggering, so if you're really upset by that kind of thing, I wouldn't read this book. It was therapeutic for me, though. It's told so well, and so many things coincided with my own story that it was relieving for me, and here I am being more open about it on the internet. Please read this book. There's a lot of content on that one book. That book was so good. The next book that I read was Blue Bloods by Melissa De La Cruz. I do have a reading blog which I'll link up right here. This was recommended to me by my coworker and dear friend Tucker. I super enjoyed it. This story is about vampires. There were 400 vampires in the beginning of time. They live out a lifespan, and then they slumber, they hibernate, and then they're reincarnated as another person. But as they mature as that person, they are able to remember the memories of the lives that they lived before. There was a little bit of romance, a lot of suspense. I just devoured it. I do have the second book that I've started, but I've also started some other books, so that one's fallen to the side. I really like this one, and I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, because 4.5 wasn't an option, so it was really good. This book was one of my books from my Book of the Month subscription box. It was described as a thriller, a psychological thriller, and that book is Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. This book. Oh my gosh. I was less than 100 pages into it and I recommended it to everybody. It's so well written. We have 2 main characters. One's name is Hen. Her full name's Henrietta. She goes by Hen. They meet another couple at a barbecue, a neighborhood barbecue, and a few weeks later they go over to this couple's house for dinner. And that couple is Matthew and Mira are the couple that they meet. And we learned from the very beginning that Matthew is a murderer. And the only person who suspects him is their neighbor, their new friend, Hen. And it goes... Oh my gosh. And that's not a spoiler, because you learn that almost immediately at the very beginning of the book. It goes into both of their heads as Henrietta struggles with bipolar, and she's not believed by the police with her accusations and the things that she has seen, but she's onto him. And he knows it. And he knows that nobody's going to believe her because of her past experiences with mental illness. Oh my gosh. It was... That's all I'm going to say at that point. Wonderful character development. I ate this book up. I could not put it down. It was so good. If you like thrillers or murder mysteries, you need to check this one out. Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. Next, the biggest book that I read in March was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. I read this via my Kindle, reading it in digital format. Even though I have 2 copies of this one, I have just been really liking reading on my e-reader because the fonts are bigger and I'm going blind. It was so good. I wish that Sirius didn't die. Like, I get that she had to kill off all the people around Harry for Harry to be strong or not rely on whatever. But Sirius was such a good character. I did cry when he died. I love Luna Lovegood. She's my spirit animal. I friggin' love Luna and her weirdness and her weird honesty. I love to hate Umbridge, of course, everybody does. The scene when the Weasleys leave and say, "Give her hell from us, Peeves." Ugh, so good. Oh my gosh. What can I say about Harry Potter that has not already been said? I'm just gonna leave it at that. I loved it. The 5th book that I read was another new one. This was my 2nd book from my Book of the Month box, and that is 4 Dead Queens by Astrid Scholt. I finished this just a few days ago, actually, because I read several books at a time. I listen to them. I always have Harry Potter on my Kindle while I'm at work, and then I read my physical books while I'm at home. I finished several books within 24 hours of each other. I can't decide if this was futuristic or medieval society. I don't know, because there was technology that was pretty advanced, but also the way that people dressed and the ruling system made it seem like it was a bit older. I don't know how to explain what kind of book this is. You gather from the title, 4 Dead Queens. You know from the beginning how it's going to end, right? It's one of those kind of giveaways. And in this nation there are 4 lands. I tried to do a reading vlog for this one, it didn't happen. So we have Archia, who is ruled by Queen Iris. Toria, ruled by Queen Marguerite. Ionia, ruled by Queen Cora. And Ludia, ruled by Queen Stessa. So we get to hear a little bit from each character. We also have a fifth main character. Her name is Carolee. She's a pickpocketer, essentially. They call them dippers. She's told to steal a comm case that has some important documents. She's not sure what's in it, but her boss tells her she needs to steal it. She ends up stealing these back from him, much to her peril, with the man who she originally stole it from, whose name was Varen. I know, this is a little confusing here. They take off together and leave her boss, Machiel, behind. She sees what's on these comm chips, and she goes about trying to prevent what she's seen or tell the palace what she's seen so they can understand what's going to happen or what did happen. I'm not explaining this very well at all. It's a little complicated, but it was really good. I don't know if we're having a sequel to it. I did not sell that very well. I really liked this book. I'm not much for fantasy or medieval or that kind of thing. I'm more contemporary youth fiction. I like more modern day kind of thing. I really like this. I was pleasantly surprised by this book. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I don't know what to say about it. Sometimes it's so hard for me to explain a book without giving too many things away. I'm so glad I picked this one though. It's well worth its excellent reviews. I'm stalling out on this review. I don't know what to say about it. I hope we get a sequel. This is her first novel? Her debut novel. Oh my gosh, for a debut novel, this was amazing. I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain this book further. I did listen to one audiobook this month, and that book was The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's the same narrator. His name is Rob Inglis, and he is incredible. I loved him reading The Hobbit, which is why I was so grateful to see that he had narrated the rest of the series. Because the books are so dense, I just like having them read to me. That way I can be doing other things while I'm hearing and seeing what's happening in another world. I like to listen to my audiobooks while I'm driving and while working before we're open at work. Also while I'm folding laundry. It's also a good time to listen to an audiobook. I used to not like audiobooks, or I had never listened to enough audiobooks to know if I liked them or not, and I was pretty much against them, just like I was against e-readers, because I just wanted the paperback. Sorry, I just got a whiff and a taste of new book smell. Nice. Lord of the Rings is a classic, and I'm so glad that I was able to listen to it, because there's so many details that I feel like I would have missed had I read it just with my eyes. Can we just agree that Aragorn is the most beautiful man? Oh, he's so beautiful. Such vivid details. Such a unique premise. With these classics that have been staples for years, I don't know that anything that I can say would add anything to it. Did you know there are some colleges that offer studies in Tolkien? Wouldn't that be so cool? Be like, yeah, I've got a master's degree in English literature with a focus on Tolkien. Like, what? That would be so cool. I'd be so down for that. Check out the audiobook! I'm sorry, you guys, I'm fading out. And the final book that I read during March was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I so enjoyed my read-through of it this time around. I felt like we really got to know Dumbledore a lot better as a character. He feels like a friend more in this book than in any other, mostly because he has those lessons with Harry. I love these books. I love every character. I feel like they're all so unique and deep, detailed, especially Hermione. Like, she's one of the real ones. This review has just tanked. I love them. I'll always love them. I'll always reread them. Books I'm reading right now. I'm reading the 7th Harry Potter book right now on my Kindle. I'm listening to The Two Towers by Tolkien. That's my audiobook right now. And then I just started Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy the other night. I need to finish Masquerade. That's the next book in the Blue Bloods series. Some books I recently acquired. The Game of Thrones series. My friend Jesse has been pestering me for months and months that I need to read these books. He listened to them. Oh, The back looks really nice. He listened to them as an audiobook, but I didn't want to pay for the audiobooks, so I just got the physical ones. I would like to start at least the first book this month. We'll see. I've never seen the show. I just know that it's graphic and that there's a lot of boobs. And some incest. I'm not really into that kind of thing. I have 2 books coming for my book of the month box. I am making sure that I'm reading new books, a lot more new books. So far this year, I've read 20 books, and 14 of those have been new. So that's a very good percentage for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm sorry that it just crashed at the end and I couldn't get my words together. I loved every book that I read this month, which is pretty cool. That doesn't always happen. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what books you read during March. With that, I will see you guys next time. Bye!